Alright, YouTube, I wanted to discuss the way in which Satanism as a philosophy is compatible with other philosophies, certainly, and other religions and faiths as well. It's a topic that some people don't seem to grasp, that they think Satanism is a religious movement, a religious group with its own sort of church organizational structure. This isn't actually the case, and as I've pointed out before, yes, there is some organization within the Church of Satan. The Church of Satan itself has largely fallen out of favor in the satanic movement. Number one, they charge their members. Very few people will pay $200 for a little red card just to call themselves Satanists when they can freely obtain the materials necessary to determine if they are living a satanic lifestyle. And number two, because the organizational structure there is corrupt anyway. But within Satanism, the various groups, I would point out, they are definitely compatible with certain Eastern traditions. Now, traditional LaVeyan Satanism, not so much. It tends to be purely materialistic. The membership and the hierarchy within that group look at the material world as the only thing to go after. Satanism taken at a more pure level, without the Church of Satan's doctrinal nonsense associated with it, is simply independence. And you can extend that. Now here's something that I will also point out. Certain Eastern groups will point out that the spiritual is that which is not material, it's not motivated by materialism, it's transcendence, it's release from the world, the idea of nirvana, karma, all these different things. They're very spiritual in essence. They actually teach essentially in part or in whole denying the physical realm to achieve that state of liberation. And as a result, many of those Eastern individuals look at Satanism and they say this is the opposite of what you should be doing because it's purely associated with obtaining material wealth, material carnality, lust, things of that nature. There are those of us within Satanism, though, that take a drastically different approach to what Satanism means. We're essentially melding the satanic philosophy at its core with the Eastern traditions, which is what I myself do. I agree with certain Eastern philosophies, but I also agree with the satanic philosophy in this. Satanism taken at its root is merely to be yourself, to be unique, to strive towards uniqueness, to be independent, to not be led by other individuals, to determine the truth for yourself. That's not to say you can't look to other people or other groups or even doctrines and dogmas for enlightening kernels of wisdom. It merely means you as an individual need to take the motivation and actually make the attempt to determine what you believe in and to strive for your goals. I would point out that the pure form of Satanism, the idea of Satanism as individuality and as, in a way, transcendence as well, because there are individuals through that nearly enlightened process, they begin to shun some of the material things of the world, some of the things which society does or teaches. For instance, I've known Satanists who have decided to become vegan or vegetarian. They do this not because it's expected of them, or because society tells them it's wrong to eat meat. They simply feel that for themselves they choose not to do that, which would coincide with some of the Eastern teachings, something which the Eastern gurus and so forth may not have noticed. I would note, and this is interesting, the more corrupt version of Satanism, the truly materialistic only interpretation of satanic belief, is more like Christianity or Islam. That is, you do have that rudimentary organizational structure. You do have money involved within their discipline, the idea of money. The same materialism which you see in Satanists following the LaVeyan path, you can easily see among self-proclaimed Christians all over the world. Look at someone like Mitt Romney or George W. Bush. Perhaps I shouldn't point out Mitt Romney because a lot of Christians don't consider Mormons branch of Christianity. But we'll just assume that it is for the sake of argument. Bush Sr., Reagan, any of these money-mongering fools who run the Western world, and all of them pander to the Christians, and all of them say, we're Christians, we believe in God, this is a Christian nation, it will remain a Christian nation. George H. Walker Bush saying atheists shouldn't be considered citizens or patriots. These people say they're Christian. They go to Christian churches. They could just as easily be seen as Satanists. They follow the same materialistic dogma of I'm going to heap wealth and I'm going to do what I want, whether or not it hurts other people. See, that's also another difference. At its purest form, the Satanic philosophy, and a lot of Christians ask me about this, and I always make it clear. The Satanic philosophy is not about screwing others over for your own benefit. That's the furthest thing from a true Satanic goal. The true Satanic goal is merely a lack of others influencing and screwing you over. That is to say, if Joe Schmo is not bothering you, he's just living his life doing what he wants to do. He's not imposing on you.
A vast virus database has been updated.
I'm sure it has. If he's not imposing on you, you have no right to impose on them. There are logical, rational limitations to your independence within true Satanism. Rather than, and most Christians will say, well, Satanism sounds like anarchy. Well, no. A logical, rational individual isn't going to go out with a gun just because they think it'll be fun and kill somebody. They'll suffer for that. They'll go to jail. They'll get killed by the cops. It's not logical. It's not rational in any possible way. It would be the antithesis of true Satanism because the logic and the reason comes before the independence. Because in order for man to declare independence, that is, I am, therefore I have this set of rights, first you have to be able to apply logic and reason. You have to be able to be capable of using those faculties and using them well. If you're not capable of thinking, you should go and join the Christians. If you're not capable of independent thought, please become a Christian and do not become a Satanist. You will make a lousy Satanist, you will do terrible things, and it will make us look bad, it will probably end in you being killed. You're just not cut out for that path. Now, there are things that you can do to erase the programming that is holding you back, and then you can, if you want, become a Satanist. It's a long, fraught process. It's fraught with difficulty. There are problems with becoming a Satanist that people don't understand. Some people think to be a Satanist is wearing a pentagram and black clothes and saying, well, haha, I don't believe in God, I'm going to go burn a virgin or something like that. That's not Satanism. That's Hollywood's interpretation of devil worship. The style comes out of Gothic culture because the Goth was big in the 80s during the Satanic Panic, so they focused on the Goths and the metalheads. They wore dark clothes and pentagrams and upside-down crosses and, did this. Let me tell you, this just means to rock out. This has nothing to do with devil worship or Satanism or anything like that. So when you see, when George Bush does this, by the way, and even though I hate George Bush and would love for the Christians to crucify him as a Satanist, he's just going with the Texas Longhorns, which are a college football team. But anyway, not to digress too much from the topic, Satanism is compatible with other religious and philosophical beliefs. Satanism as a philosophy, as a way to live your life, is not purely religious. I'll point out another uncanny similarity with, for instance, Hinduism or Buddhism. The Pope and the televangelists and the, mega church pastors long ago seized upon an opportunity. Eastern religions were brought to the West in the 60s. With the hippie movement, the Beatles infamously were the ones that essentially brought them here in the first place with their yogish. All of the Christian groups, who already hated rock music and saw everything they did as wrong, blasted such psychedelic groups and their Eastern tamperings as satanic. When the Pope or a televangelist or any of these people says yoga or meditation or the idea of karma or any of these other topics, is wrong and against the Christian religion or against Islam or anything like that, because the Muslims have opposed Hinduism for centuries, they are not thinking clearly, because these are not religious topics. Yes, they are included within the religions of Hinduism and Buddhism, but you do not have to be a Hindu or a Buddhist or even believe in their specific gods or tantric practices to meditate. Meditation is merely a way of focusing your mind and focusing your energy. It has nothing to do with any God. You can apply the concept to God. You can become closer to God when you meditate. Same with yoga and other relaxing practices. These things have medical benefits. Now, here is me. I'm a Satanist. I have started meditating. I'm not doing it because I want to connect with God. I'm not doing it because I'm interested in worshiping the Buddha or becoming one with Maitreya or any of these other Eastern topics. I'm interested in it primarily to learn how to focus more easily, because I was one of those Ritalin-addled ADHD kids and I have problems focusing. That's where my interest in meditation lies. If it takes me anywhere further, then so be it. But I'm also interested in the occult. Now here's another thing. People look at me, and I have to say I'm perhaps slightly guilty of misleading Christians on the topic of Satanism. They look at my channel and they see that I'm interested in the occult, and they assume and they extrapolate that all Satanists are. That's not the case either. Most atheistic Satanists, any rituals they do perform are clearly mock-ups. They're clearly right in line with what Hollywood tells you a devil worshipper would do. They're for their own amusement. They find them exciting or fun. It's no different than pagans dancing around a fire naked. A bunch of neo-pagans. I remember when I was at UVM, I don't know exactly what it was, but there was some sort of pagan celebration. There was a big bonfire, and they were dancing around it like thumping sticks against the ground. And I thought it was cool, but I'm sure that all the fundamentalists on campus, all 3 or 4 of them, thought it was very strange and satanic. That's just their perception. They couldn't be further from the truth. These people are, I don't know whether it was some solstice celebration, because I think it was around the solstice. So I'm assuming it has something to do with that. But the Christians and Muslims, when they tell you Satanists are one homogenous group, they try to label us that way. They don't realize that there are multiple groups. And the satanic philosophy is just a philosophy anyway. It has nothing to do with God. It has nothing to do with a literal Satan. It has nothing to do with the devil. I don't believe in the devil. I don't believe in Satan. There are theistic Satanists that worship pagan entities, but perhaps even calling them Satanists is kind of useless. They don't believe in the Christian Satan. They understand that the Christian Satan is fake. They worship or invoke or in some way commune with this pagan entity, whether it be Enki, Satya or Satyam, any of a number of Eastern or Sumerian deities. It's not what Christians would consider devil worship. It has Christians stole all the pagan gods and made them into demons. But the satanic philosophy itself being simply independence, ironically, what the founding fathers were saying during the revolutionary times, it's uncannily similar to what Satanists are saying now, and yet people assume that we're this evil, homogenous group that wants to take over the world. I've debated with this idiot chatter on ICQ 100 times, and she continues to claim that Luciferians and Zionists and all these groups are in it together to take over the world. I don't like Zionism. I'm a Satanist. Since she's, it's not Satanists, you're just small fry, you're being fooled by the big Luciferians. And I'm like, what big Luciferians? I don't see any. I don't have anyone above me. I'm my own God, essentially. I don't look to capitalist Bill up there to tell me what to do and to bankroll my projects. It couldn't be further from the truth. So when people tell you Satanism is evil, Satanism is devil worship, Satanism is an incompatible philosophy with the Eastern traditions or Western traditions if you're taking the corrupt satanic version like the Christians follow, because let's face it, LaVeyan Satanism isn't far from what Christians do every single day. Hoard wealth, have lots of illicit sex, and do everything else that they go to church to be